this is my first time I'm speaking in this forum. And so please forgive or please pardon me if I made any mistake or, I did do anything wrong, which is not, I'm not supposed to do. With that, I will share my screen. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. So a little bit of intro about myself that my name is Mudit. I'm working in Publicis Sapient from last 5 years. I worked on cloud technologies and passionate about cloud native technologies, Kubernetes, networking, and these all kind of latest technologies. I started to work on Istio around few months back, like 3 months back, where when I was supposed to implement canary deployment for one of my clients, and that's where my Istio journey has started. I'm not an Istio expert, and I'm learning a bit, and that's where during this journey I have done few of the certifications from Solo.io and Tetrate, and that's where when on the occasion of 5 years of Istio, when there was a campaign going on that what is the idea if someone has to float some idea. I floated that I want to work or I want to showcase a POC or a demo where I want to do a local primary remote install on 2 laptops, right? So let's start with that. So this is the basic architecture, and this is what I wanted to achieve. So what I wanted to do is that I wanted to do a primary remote install on my spare laptops within my home network. And why I want to do that, because the instructions which were there on the Istio documentation which I provided, I think that I want to go through that networking experience, that it's quite easy to do that networking on the cloud, where you get support from the cloud vendors as well, and it is easier to do that. But what it takes from my learning perspective, that if I consider 2 laptops as one cluster on one laptop and the another Kubernetes cluster on another laptop, and I try to do primary remote on those basically. So what I did basically is I have a home network. I have two laptops. Both are Mac, and they are running behind the same network. Both are connected to Wi-Fi. They both are running kind cluster on Mac 1, or you can call it cluster 1. I am running a kind cluster 1, and on Mac 2 cluster 2, I am running a kind cluster 2. On one of the Mac, I modified the kube config so that I can reach the kind cluster of both running on both the Mac from one system. I did this configuration on both the systems basically. As part of the primary remote setup, what I'm doing is I will be running Istio and the main component on one of the primary cluster, and there will be one remote cluster. And my primary cluster, the Istio for this should be able to communicate with the API server of my remote cluster as well. And my services, both the services should be the discovery should happen for both the services from both the API servers. So this is what I was supposed to achieve. For setting up the kind config, what I did is on both the Mac, I use this kind config, where I just change the name cluster 2 for cluster 2 and cluster 1 for the another cluster, and so that the API server is accessible on the pingable IP, or on the IP which is coming from my home router, DHCP. I use the API server address as my Mac Ethernet address, so that I can both the Cube API servers are accessible over the LAN, right? So both the servers are accessible over the LAN. So if I do a Cube CTX, my both the contexts are visible, and what I can do is, if I see that both the cluster control plane nodes are visible from the same node, if I do a kind cluster one, the kind cluster one control plane and the worker node are visible. If I do a context for the cluster two, then accordingly cluster two control plane and the worker nodes are visible, right? So I did this basic test. Now, with respect to Istio documentation, if I go to Istio documentation for the primary remote install, this is what the primary remote install architecture or the should look like, right? And I've tried to bring my both the laptops pretty much in the same thing, where I am having the same home network, and this cluster one is my first laptop and the cluster two is my second laptop, right? So this is what I was trying to achieve. So one of the things which so for this demo, as I told, that I have tried to use kind cluster, but before that I was also trying to use minikube on that, minikube for this POC. But on minikube, I was facing few of the issues, that because minikube, it uses I need to have a bridge network so that the communication can happen, right? But somehow I was with both the VMs, the minikube VMs, I was not able to ping them. Obviously, there was some networking issues which I faced during my POC. So for those, I reach out to the minikube community also. If I show you these couple of issues I have raised with the community, that I am trying to establish connectivity between two locally created minikube clusters on two laptops. But yeah, the people have suggested a couple of things, but yeah, those were not working. And again, I try to use the Submariner as well. So what Submariner does is it establishes the connectivity between the two remote namespaces of different Kubernetes clusters, right? It is a good tool, but again, I was also facing issues with the while setting this up. I've also raised this with the community, but yeah, because it takes some time. So yeah, it is still in pending. It is still being in progress or being discussed at the community level, right? Now coming from sorry. Now going back to from my POC perspective, what I have done is I've followed the documentation for the Istio multi-cluster install. With the first thing I started with in plugin in CA certificate, wherein if we want to have a multi-cluster install, we need to have a root CA certificate with cluster one and cluster two. So I was able to follow the instructions which are there in this documentation, and the documentation was pretty straightforward with this. I want to start with the second thing, where I try to do a primary and remote install, and exactly where I am currently stuck. So what I've done is I've used Metal LB because I am using the kind cluster. I have used Metal LB to use the external IP for the load balancer services, and which is running fine in my both the clusters. So this is my cluster one, and this is my cluster two. So if I show you like kubectl get svc-istio system, right? I have installed the east-west gateway and the ingress gateway here, and both have the external IPs assigned using the Metal LB. If I show you the Metal LB, my Metal LB is also running without any issues. Similarly, if I go into the cluster two, I can see that my ingress gateway have an external IP, right? So to go with the process, what we have to do is, firstly, we have to configure cluster one as primary. So what I've done is I've used the Istio operator approach to do the installation on the cluster one. So if we go onto the onto the cluster one, then and start the installation. Then on the cluster one itself, I'm able to install the Istio core, Istio gateways, and the ingress gateway. Then after that, I need to install the east to west gateway, which I have just shown. So I was also able to install the ingress gateway and the successfully without any issues. Right. Now, once we have installed the east to west gateway in cluster one, we have to expose the control plane in cluster one. I was also able to expose the plane successfully, expose the control plane successfully, and you can see that the external IP is assigned here. The issue I have after that I was able to enable API server access to cluster 2 as well, and I was able to create the remote secret as well, so that to provide the API server access to cluster 2. So this is where I have successfully generated the remote secret as well. Now my problem starts with when I configure cluster 2 as remote. So as soon as I kick off the installation of the cluster 2, right? My Istio component, Istio core and Istio D component gets installed, but I'm not able to install the ingress gateway. It is not getting installed on cluster 2, right? And that's where I'm currently stuck with it, right? If I go to cluster 2, if I go to cluster 2 and see this ingress gateway, it is not in the ready status. And if I see logs for this, right? This is what I'm seeing, that I'm not able to reach out to this IP 227, and the 227 is the Istio east-west gateway, right? So so my ingress gateway on the cluster 2 is not able to talk to basically east-west gateway, and that's where I'm currently stuck with my POC basically. Right. So this is what currently I'm further working on, and probably and that's where I was stuck earlier as well on this. That's where I tried to use Submariner as well, but it is also giving the same issue, right? So is there anything else which I can try out to fix this issue, or any suggestions from anyone on that?
One idea though, have you tried to check some sort of connectivity on, I mean, IP routing or something like that? Do you have rules for them in cluster 2?
Yeah, I tried to add root, right? Because I tried to add by default root for this cluster to this cluster, but that routing thing was also not working actually. I tried that route. But if there is any specific thing which you can suggest, then I can try now, or I can try later as well. Because I tried that using the simple route add command to route that traffic through the interface for that subnet.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, that was also not working. And that was my idea, that I want to try this POC on my home network, because probably I may not face these kind of issues when I'm working on cloud or something, or maybe I don't have much idea about networking. Maybe from that perspective also I want to go through this journey. So that's where I'm still looking for to fix this issue basically.
I see, that makes sense. I'm not quite sure about the container, the ingress gateway container, whether it has some network debugging tool or not, but it might work. Yeah, connect to the container, execute the shell, and then check the yeah, what the IP comments can show us or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that as well. Like you want to like ping that thing, ping from inside the container. That's what you are saying?
Oh, no, yeah, I would rather do something like kube control exec, like to
Yeah,
execute
yeah,
something on the
yeah,
content and execute a shell. And then
yeah,
maybe we
yeah,
can
yeah.
see, yeah, whether there is, yeah, what kind of IPs do it know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know, just type IP space R to see what kind of IP routes are.
Yeah.
With a default. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't I didn't edit these route here actually inside the container. I was what I was specifying that I have added routes on my on my host, actually on my Mac, not inside the container. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Because so what I did is if I'm on this Mac and this the IP for EN0, yeah, IP for this is 154, right? So what I did is I added a route with this as gateway, and the my target subnet is this one, right? So
Yeah.
that yeah, so that I can be reached to this subnet through this gateway basically.
And this is the very same subnet that you are using for your cluster IP. I mean, for the Kubernetes. Yeah. So the two networks are overlapping in the two clusters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Because probably because if you see this one, probably I'm not sure you have seen this. So this is my home network, right? So both the my Mac, like this is cluster 1 and this is cluster 2, right? These are both different laptops. So this is on 154 and this is 194. These are accessible anyway, right? And I can access both the API server from both the laptops. And I have, and that is already that if you see that is already configured on both the cluster. I can access both the clusters from cluster 1 also and from cluster 2 also, right? But I think it is more about whether my services, that 172 network, whether this is both the services IP are pingable or reachable or not. I think that is where I am facing some issue.
I see. I'm not really familiar with kind, to be honest. So the thing is, it creates Docker networks, Docker bridges inside them, and from one Docker bridge on one computer, you want to reach the other Docker bridge in the other computer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And both the bridges are in the same network.
Yeah. Both the bridges are in the same network because it is behind the home network actually. And from my router only, I'm getting those IPs. This one, but of course that the inside the service range is different. But yeah, outside it is all pingable.
No. But I mean, inside the Docker bridges on the two clusters, the IP range is the same, right? Or not?
Yeah, I think this is same. I think I did that Docker inspect. Sorry, Docker inspect. If I do this, this is what you are asking, right?
Oh yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, and I think I checked this. Yeah, this is on the same network. Yeah, 1803, and this is also same. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One issue that could be here, I guess, is that why should the Docker bridge forward the traffic to the outside if the IP address is its network? It makes no sense them to send it out of the network. It will think that the other host.
Sorry, say it again, please.
Yes. So the thing is, you have two identical networks, and if you have a container that want to connect to another container that has an IP address in that range, and you send the packet to the bridge, the bridge will think that, okay, this other container is inside my network, so I guess I just put the network like a layer 2 switch or something like that. And I guess that's the root of the problem.
Yeah, that is one thing, which I thought is that maybe, it might make sense or not, but if I connect it with some cable, will it work? Like both the laptops?
No, I think it's not depending on that stuff. It's just routing.
Okay.
It's layer 3. What type
Yeah,
of
it's layer
connection
3.
is? Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Wi-Fi or
Okay,
a cable.
or physical connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, basically it's adapter at the last the adapter.
So
Okay.
what I would suggest is, to somehow split the network and one half, assign one half to cluster 1 and assign the other one to cluster 2. And then there will be no overlapping, and then it can decide if a packet comes in, whether it should be forwarded to the other cluster or not.
Okay, so what you are saying is that probably like split this range, so that if this is like 172.18.0.2.3, so this might be .0.2 probably, right? Just an example, so that it is split.
Yeah, that can be one way. The other way, the hard way, if you want to do to see where the packets go, is to if I'm not sure if you're familiar with TCP dump or Wireshark.
I'm familiar. I'm familiar.
Yeah, so it might work to do a round of debugging where the packets get lost. But my gut feeling is that the problem is that we have the same network, the both sides. So why would the bridge forward the traffic if it's inside its network? Yeah.
But if exactly this but if you see this one, it like that both clusters reside on the one network, meaning there is a direct connectivity between the pods in both clusters, right? So this is the prereq for this installation, right? So that means if this is same like 1803, and for both the cluster 1 and cluster 2, it should be a problem or not? I don't know. I don't know.
I pass on this. Yeah, anyone else?
Sorry?
Yeah, I pass on this one. So if anyone has got any intuition.
So this is what I have today to show. Probably once I'm done with this, probably I will let the community know. I will probably upload a complete recording on will share with community on YouTube, or will share on my link. But yeah, this is where I'm currently stuck. I'm trying hard to get it fixed, and probably I think as you were mentioning, probably we are missing something on the routing part. So yeah, I think I should be able to fix it later or sooner.
Istio or for microservices?
Sorry?
Istio is for microservices?
Yeah.
So if the microservices runs on different CPUs, can you debug them with your tool?
Sorry, can you
If I have microservices running on different servers,
okay,
how you find out if they are working properly?
sorry, I don't know about it, but I know that if your microservices are running on different servers, then there are observability things which comes with the Istio, which can helps you in monitoring and even tracing of your microservices on different servers. So
what Istio does precisely?
So Istio. Yeah. I will try to answer that question with my limited knowledge. So primarily, I see few use cases for Istio, right? People use it for MTLS, traffic management, and so many other things, right? Primarily, what I have used it for, the one thing I have used it for traffic management, that is canary release. So what happens normally in a production environment, you deploy one version of service, and then when your next version is ready, you just deploy it over the previous version, right? But with the canary release and what you can achieve with Istio is you can run multiple versions of your microservices, right? And you can control the percentage of traffic you send to those microservices. And you then on the latest version of microservice, you can run some kind of testing or a load on for a few days. And if that service is behaving good, then you can pass your 100% traffic to the new microservice, or you can roll back. That's the first use case. The second thing is normally in microservices scenarios, what happens is there are few use cases like circuit breaking, timeout, fault injection, which are helpful from resiliency of microservices perspective, right? Now, in old days, what happens is all these features like short circuiting, circuit breaking, timeout, these were all the features which were implemented by developers, within the service, right? Now, what Istio helps in Istio take out that complexity from the developers, and it itself manages all this complexity. Okay, so developer does not have to worry about how he will implement circuit breaking, fault injection, and this and that with the business logic of the application. He just have to care about the business logic of what he's writing in the microservice, and the rest of the things are taken care by the Istio. So these are the two varied use cases I have worked on with Istio. Of course, there are others many, but yeah, I have worked on these two.
What is circuit breaking?
So basically, circuit breaking is what happens is you have your microservices are running, right? And so what are circuit breakers, right? That sometimes if there are overloading of, there are loads on services, right? So your uh, and your connections, the users are trying to get to the microservices, right? Then in that sense, what happens, you want to respond to the normal accordingly, right? In that sense, you want to pass on some message or say that timeout or the service is not available. In those cases, the circuit breaking, all the fault injection, this is used. So these features normally get used from the resiliency perspective.
So circuit breaking is happen when the microservice is not able to communicate with the user.
No, it is a feature. It is a feature for the resiliency test,
Which allows microservice to continue to function even if something went wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't think that if you go to the traffic management task, and I think this is a circuit breaking. Yeah, like circuit breaking allow you to write application that limit the impact of failures, latency spikes, and other undesirable effect of network peculiarities, right? So sometimes what is happening when it is overloaded or too many requests are coming, then how you want to, how you want to, control the connection with minimize the impact of that failure and how the connection is happening. This is what circuit breaking is. So, and there are a couple of other things like fault injection, circuit breaking. So these are all resiliency features which are related to resiliency of microservices.
Excellent. This is very good stuff.